This is Daniel Montero, GW Smoke Break, and I'd like to welcome you to Emerald Mountain Legacy Summer 2020. We're going to discover the legend of Mandelbrot and the impact that he had in the Emerald Triangle and around the world for that matter. We'll be talking to pioneers and legends like Kevin Jodrey, Tim Blake, Joel Ital Foundation, and Mean Gene from Mendocino. Join us on this genuine California cannabis experience, and you already know, culture is king. Peace.
When I met Mandel, he told me these seeds have been in the stump for 4 years. You know what I mean? Like, you just know, like, okay, this is some clandestine backwoods shit. This is moonshining. This is bootlegging. The reason why they were in the stump for years, as far as I know, is because he was like on the lam, you know, like, oh, I can't go back there and put this shit away and I got to split. That's my understanding of it. I really don't know. He was doing that and he was risking his ass while he was doing it, you know, because like back in those days, if you got busted and you had 43 plants, so it was like, oh yeah, no, it'll be cool. But if you get busted and you got tons of plants, then you're screwed. And he's taking that risk and upping it from this little crime to this huge crime to find a plant, you know, like it's a crazy thing.
He came into Area 101. I didn't know who this guy was. People were talking about what an amazing genetic guy, amazing farmer he was. He was a larger-than-life guy, very vivacious, eccentric, passionate. Loved genetics. He really did. Loved his family. He was an old-school guy. He didn't need to have the 15 minutes of fame. He didn't care about that. He was an outlaw. We were like, I mean, he understood. He was stupid. He was smart. I mean, back then, if you got busted with 1,000 seeds, you can go to jail for 10 years. And so, I mean, you weren't like going out there and trying to sell seeds. I mean, because at one point, the way they really kept the business down was by making hash a high felony offense where you go to prison for a long time, and making the genetics a high prison count, and making plants a high prison count. So it was hard to do the genetic development, the Luther Burbank style, where you're just doing a massive amount of plants, because you could go to prison for that. I mean, people didn't want to have thousands of plants on them, or millions of seeds.
And he had more willingness to do crazy shit back then than everyone else, and I think that's what distinguished him from your average grower, is that he liked to do the renegade shit that nobody else was comfortable doing. This is a pretty good example. We were 2 blocks from the plaza in Arcata. I'm not sure if you know the plaza, but it's like the very middle of downtown Arcata. He would like pile coffee grounds outside the building to try to mitigate the smell of all the cannabis.
Hilarious.
And it worked. Like you could smell it, but you couldn't tell where it was coming from.
That is so fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have never been comfortable being on the paperwork for that fucking place, but he was.
He was a big, loud, full-size fucking dude. You know what I'm saying? He was larger than fucking life. He's hella opinionated. He thought he was the fucking living end of the game. But you kind of have to believe in yourself in order to push the boundaries. So like for all of us that were in the world we were in, we were all cocky to a degree because you kind of had to be. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the courage to fucking do criminal shit your whole life. So you have to believe in yourself so much that pretty soon you just really start to fucking believe in yourself. Well, he believed in himself, but he could back it up. So the thing is that he believed in himself, but he could back it up. And if you could back your shit up too, he was cool. So when you meet him, he had an arrogance, but it was justified in the fact that he was most definitely producing a lot of fucking plants. He was breeding a lot of really nice shit. And every operation that I went to that he touched, the fucking herb was fire. I used to live in northern Humboldt, and then I moved to southern Humboldt in like early 2000. So I had a common friend that knew Mack, and that's how I heard about him. And really what he was known for at that time was he was really like the first person to bring sour and OG real cuts into the region. He was one of the true introducers of those things from Southern Cal. And I think he had some good biker connects from back in the day. So he had access to some interesting shit out of SoCal that was kind of coveted and held in check. And he brought it in, but he wasn't releasing it in wide scale, but he introduced it and certain individuals messed around with it. And so I knew his reputation of introducing genetics, and I knew that he was a breeder. And I didn't get to meet him personally probably until like 2007, 206, 207, and I met him through Piccirilli, John Piccirilli. So John Piccirilli's been a good friend of mine for a long time too, and he owns Cutting Edge Solutions. And he said, hey, I got somebody I want you to meet. And so we all got together, and me and Brat got along. Because a lot of times when you meet people, just because you meet them doesn't mean you're gonna fucking get along. But we got along, and he was cool. And not long after that, I took over that operation in Arcata. And so he came over to talk to me and said, hey, listen, I have a factory just down the street from your spot. He was going to take on the old Lolita cheese factory. They were going to take the cheese factory on, right? And so they, oh no, it was incredible. So he brings me all the blueprints, right? And he shows me this entire cheese factory they were going to turn into a big breeding and R&D facility because the world was coming into that, Prop 19 was going down. So Prop 19's taking place, legalization is pending, and he moves forward on this killer facility, and it's this old cheese factory, and it's all brick, and it's got all these mega bays, and it couldn't have been any more fucking cool, right? And he gets all tied into that, and then 19 fails and shit fucking goes sour, and he ends up taking off out of the area, and he ended up losing a lot of his plants. And so like the Turpentine mom, the Truth mom, and the Royal mom I had at the shop. And so he finds me at Wonderland, right? And so I don't see him for a couple years. So sometimes in life when things don't work out, your absence is the best fucking policy. He comes back into the picture, and he had been still working on his projects. I give him back the material. I gave him back that Turpentine, I gave him back the Truth, and I gave him back the Royal. And I had just held them because they were all fire, and it was just good coincidence that I still kept the plants.
Funny is he got off on the like being an outlaw and taking risks that people generally didn't take at that time, and I don't know what fucking protected him from all of that. He was just lucky and intelligent, and you know, he wasn't careful though. Like I think part of him got that from my dad, and like when you're a political activist, the cops will come after you for shit that doesn't matter to most people, but I think he kind of learned to be brave in that way from my dad. My older brother grew better flower than almost anyone, for sure, in any condition, indoor, outdoor, light depths. We've been doing this for so long, and before most people were comfortable being open about it. I feel like we've been more open and shared our knowledge and just kind of like helped pave the way for the way things have played out here.